Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, continuing with our theme, the suggestion by the NBA president that the EFCC be stripped of, at least restricted to investigation. How will that work? Let's go over to Mugabe, who handles or starts off with that one. Mugabe.
Thank you, Chamberlain. I have in the studio with me Mr. Jibrin Okutepa, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Mugabe. I think I'm privileged to be here this morning.
Well, we're happy to have you. You have heard the stance of Mr. Femi Falana, who's also an SAN, and he believes that, you know, the call for the EFCC to be stripped of prosecutorial powers is uncalled for. He wonders why the EFCC must be singled out. Do you see anything in that? Do you agree with him?
Unfortunately, the concluding part of his statement appears to show the inconsistency. He remained consistently inconsistent throughout the period of his discussion. And I listened to him with rapt attention. And with the greatest respect to him, I think what he succeeded in doing, he just succeeded in confusing the Nigerian public with a statement that does not show appreciation of the issues that the president of the bar has raised. I was in Port Harcourt, and any right descending mind has read what the president of the bar says, and vis-a-vis what the EFCC does, will agree with the president of the bar that a time has come for institutional reformation of EFCC. No one is saying that EFCC is bad. In any case, the president of the bar prefaced his statement by commending the Anti-Graft agency for the effort they are putting.
The EFCC thanks him for that.
Well, just give me a little bit of because when Nigeria is the only country I know that public institutions are not interested in being scrutinized, their conduct not allowed to be subjected to public debate for purposes of coming out with the best approach to fighting corruption. Because EFCC alone cannot fight corruption. And we must go to, when was EFCC established? EFCC Act of 2004 that was subsequently amended merely gives EFCC power to investigate economic crimes. Now the power of prosecution is in the Attorney General of the Federation. It's the constitutional power. Now the president of the bar spoke about the need for EFCC to be restructured in a way that it will concern itself with scientific investigation, while prosecution is then done by resource persons in another department. And the last statement made by
another department within the EFCC or outside of the
another
EFCC?
Government agency that has prosecution power, specialized persons. And the concluding part of Femi Falana's SAN statement is an admission of the challenges he himself was facing, that because there is no prosecuting department and investigating department, and the thing are fixed together, there is even a problem of trial. But let's not, I do not want to go into the arguments of his moving here and there. Let's concentrate and educate Nigerian public as to what is the problem. What is the problem? Even EFCC itself has this problem. First and foremost, in criminal jurisprudence, you don't secure conviction on the basis of public sentiment. First, you have to do investigation. Who does the investigation? EFCC. And you will discover that Nigeria is the only country I know where you are picked up before investigation. And let me take us down to memory lane. The present acting chairman of EFCC was the director of operation in EFCC and has been in EFCC, I do not want to use the word time immemorial, but from the time EFCC was established. Now, as director of operation, the many names that we are hearing today, the designers of this world, the Dasukis of this world, have no immunity from prosecution. Why? Where was Magu and EFCC when the public wealth of this country were being looted? Did they arrest them? Did they investigate them? What I see going on now is what I may call the EFCC wanting to belonging to the Anti-Corruption crusade of the president and be seen to be doing his work. And that is why they have to take on the president of the bar for innocent and harmless suggestion made. He said, I recommend that prosecution be separated from investigation.
Mr. Kutepa, how do you think that this separation helps the work of the EFCC?
I will tell you. Now, why do you have separation of power? Because when power is concentrated in one person and there is an abuse, and I will tell you, most of the matters that you find them in court that you cannot secure conviction, inherent therein are self-serving interests that are economical. EFCC does investigation. EFCC decides who to take to court. Who does the investigation? EFCC. Who keeps the evidence? EFCC. Who produces the evidence? EFCC. Who finds the evidence? EFCC. So now EFCC cannot sit down, examine itself, be satisfied what it does, and present to court. The essence of the suggestion of Mr. President of the bar is that when you finish your investigation, let there be other persons with another eyes to see that what you are taking to court will meet the minimum standard of prosecution. Now, in this country,
there are two things that have been raised with that. I mean, there are people who say that, first of all, in an environment like Nigeria, that might not work because you might have another agency. Because one of the things that the EFCC has been criticized is looking at the body language of the person in power. They say that, you know, it's not free from political interference.
That is why the president of the bar made that suggestion.
Just a moment, sir. And that sometimes political will on the part of political leadership does affect how effective the EFCC carries out its job. If this mandate is divided, you know, between that's prosecution and investigation in the EFCC, or taken away from the EFCC, how do you think that prosecution will fare after the EFCC has completed investigation?
I'm sure you are aware that the current government has set up what they call National Prosecuting Team to prosecute crimes. And I have the privilege to be among the persons nominated. We've gone for training. And it will surprise you to note that some of the files that the Nigerian public are dished out with, that these are criminals, when you look at the evidence in the file, the case file, vis-a-vis the law of this country, no proper investigation had been done. And so, the foundation of every criminal jurisprudence is rooted in investigation. And once there is no scientific investigation, then there is no magic any prosecutors can do. And that is why the president of the bar said, look, if you finish your investigation, let those charged with responsibility of prosecution take a closer look at the file again and see that the acid tests of proof beyond reasonable doubt can be found in the contents of your file before we begin to subject Nigerian public or the accused persons or the defendant to public opprobrium, public condemnation, public outcry that this is a criminal. Because what EFCC does is simply to pick you and say this is criminal. The duty of pronouncing somebody to be guilty is in the court, not in EFCC. But assuming without considering, and I listened to my president yesterday, he said what he did was a suggestion. He may be wrong, he may be right. But does that give the EFCC the opportunity to say that the Nigerian Bar Association is populated by rogues and vultures? Is that a language that should come from an agency of government founded by your tax and my tax and the taxpayers out there for merely making a suggestion? And my brother Femi Falana was struggling. With due respect, was struggling.
He took exception to that.
Sorry. He was struggling to put a defense, but when boxed to the corner, said he has not read. But if he has read, I cannot believe, and I do not intend to believe, that he didn't read it. It was on the paper. Some of us saw it, and Femi Falana that I knew must have read it. We must call a spade a spade.
No, but he said if I do see it, I mean, if
I am saying I read it, you should see it.
Just Maryland, he says, I'm not speaking in his defense, I'm quoting what he said. He said that if it is true that he did say that, and he would demand an apology. Does that not go in sync with what lawyers are demanding?
Well, Malcolm, the issue is simple this. No Nigerians, either here in Nigerian soil or abroad, can say he has not read what that press statement said. It's everywhere. And I'm sure it has attracted a lot of commentaries from non-lawyers. It's on social media. And I know my brother Femi Falana very well. So all I am struggling to say is that none of us can condemn all institutions and say they are bad. But any institution that is not ready for public scrutiny, public debate, and having its activities subjected to some microscopic examination is not ready to exist in a democratic society.
I believe my colleagues in Lagos have questions for you.